Hi, Deeya. How are you today?
Hi, Geerish. I'm good. And how are you?
I'm doing very great. And yeah, you're smiling quite a lot today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Friday.
Okay. All right. Um, yeah, we did record on a Friday also last time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Um, Actually, today we're going to continue the talk on emotional intelligence because I had quite a lot of questions after our first talk. And I just wanted to elaborate on a few more aspects of EI, of emotional intelligence, because after our talk, I actually thought quite a bit about the importance of emotions in our lives, and is it really important to have emotions? I've gone to that extent and actually thought about it because since I've been thinking about it and I've been reading a few documents, let's say in the corporate world, where employees are actually evaluated. And one of the aspects is actually to communicate in an unemotional manner at work. And that work kind of struck something in me. So are we actually expecting people, human beings, not to be emotional at work, meaning we should stop being human beings? Because if you take a human being and you extract the emotions out of the human being, what do we actually have left? So something very simple I've read in a performance evaluation form actually made me think a lot about it, whether the way society is looking at human beings, is it really a healthy way, and is it against human nature to look at human beings in that way? Because I don't know, I think it will just create more frustration, anxiety if human beings can't be human beings, isn't it? So I've been thinking about all those things. I mean, actually, I appreciate the fact that you need to have a hold on emotions at times so that you don't mess up certain things. But I think having the word unemotional and asking someone to be unemotional is not a good thing, actually. What do you think about that?
That's I'm sorry. That's very interesting because today, while I was meditating, I came up with a quote. It actually came from my mind, and it said, "In a world that asks you to be stoic and to repress your emotions, being vulnerable, having an open heart, is the ultimate act of strength." Yes, I completely understand that so many corporate entities want us human beings to be emotionless. Actually, that's the way that they think we are going to be more productive, because we are not going to spend time processing our emotions. But how far are we actually able to do that? That's a whole other debate, because as human beings, we are impacted by all of our senses, as you already know. And this is how we process information that goes on around us. If we become unemotional, it's that we are completely desensitized. And if we are desensitized, we are no longer human beings. And desensitization in extreme makes me think of serial killers, of serial delete,
Snipers.
Yeah, snipers, those who are able to take life without any remorse. And pushing it even further, I would say that it would border on some kind of sociopathy, where you could just go around and cause disruption and destruction without actually feeling it through. So in that sense, having emotions is very important to keep that human side alive. And this is how we process our humanity, because we are able to connect to each other through our emotions. And this is something that I have discovered myself in the last years of my life. It's that as a human being, whatever I am feeling, I know that in general, people feel the same kind of emotions, even though in different degrees, at different degrees. But we all experience happiness, sadness, anger, disappointment, you name it, right? But we all go through the same. According to me, in this circumstance, that people, the corporate world and people around us generally just want us to be stoic and not feel anything, instead of leading up to that desensitization thing, we should actually learn how to control our emotions and how to indulge in them to get understanding and awareness and release them instead of trying to completely be desensitized. And I think that, not that I think, I know that you have so many tools to help people master their emotions. I've seen it. I know many others too have seen it. And this is the beautiful thing. Whatever we are experiencing right now in the moment, when we are connected to our emotions, when we have emotional intelligence, we know what we are feeling. We know what's the cause of that emotion. And we are able to get to the root cause of it. We are also, with emotional intelligence, we are also able to wait to have that clear space for us to feel the whole spectrum of the emotion and then to release it. So for me, in this sense, again, it's very important for us human beings to maintain that vulnerability. You know, vulnerability does not mean that we're weak. It does not mean that we are submitting to someone or something else. But it simply means that we are human beings. We are able to feel. We are able to empathize. We are able to accept, to connect with one another. And having an open heart and having the resilience, knowing that, okay, maybe this is not unpleasant, maybe this is a painful emotion, but I'll get through it and I'll be able to overcome it.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. I think the baseline is not denying emotions, but learning how. I understand what you're trying to say by controlling, but to me, it would be about understanding emotions, seeing through emotions, maybe. And it's something I've been doing also, let's say, the last few years. Because when you're young, you try to deny certain things because you actually don't know how to cope with anger. I mean, I knew how to cope. I would go and run for 10 kilometers, let's say, when I was 18 years old. But now you actually try to see through it and why you're getting angry, why you're getting anxious. And actually, I mean, I always say that to you, I think it's a beautiful process because it helps you to understand yourself more. I mean, why are you feeling what you're feeling right now? And if you're, I mean, one of the skills is actually to feel the emotion and not be the emotion at the same time. I don't know whether that makes sense, but something I do. So you accept the emotions totally, but in terms of the way the brain works is you kick in the reasoning mode and you try to evaluate your emotion. I mean, where is it coming from? What is it linked to? What really happened? I mean, that's the way my brain starts to function actually. And that's why when you tell me certain things, actually start this process with you also, you know, where is it coming from? That's the way I process things. And I try to go to the root cause and then actually you understand yourself more. This is what is causing it. And you get to, I won't say fix it, but you get to understand why it's actually causing the current emotion, and then changing it changes things. And I think that's an amazing process. It's like a tool for growth, your emotions in that sense. And actually, I think we need to reword and not use the word unemotional, but maybe use emotional intelligence, maybe. It can be as simple as that. We want people to be emotionally intelligent, not fake being emotionally intelligent, because I've seen some people who think that it's about just controlling emotions and, that's what it means to be emotionally intelligent. It's actually more than that. And like you said, actually, I think it makes you more vulnerable. It makes you feel things more. If you feel like breaking down, you actually break down and try to understand why you're breaking down. And it can be a bit scary for some people, but I think, once again, that it's an amazing process to even break down. I mean, when you lose someone, crying is like the most humanly experience, and it's something amazing in that sense, I would say. I don't know whether you agree with me, but that's the way I look at it.
Yes, definitely. Any kind of loss, bereavement, to be able to process the loss, we have to grieve, and crying is an important part of grieving. And I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I am very happy that you brought that up, because I get to say this live. I get to say this for people to actually hear it. We all need to cry when things happen, when we need to grieve. And grieving does not necessarily mean when someone dies. Grieving could be your relationship is over, you lost a job, you lost a friend, or your friend moved abroad, or you had a fallout with someone, or a part of your life, a cycle of your life is closing out, and you have to say goodbye to a way of living. And all that, oh, sorry. And all that deserve deserve for you to grieve over it. And this is the moment of grace that you give yourself, that, okay, I understand that this is over. I accept that I am feeling the pain. And as I feel the pain run through myself, I cry, because crying is neurological release. All right, it's something very scientific. This is why you have tears. It's
to
it allows
release.
our body, to release emotions. And crying is so therapeutic in that sense. And that's not me who says it. You could look it up. Well, people could look it up, and they would see the work that neuroscientists have put forward on how soothing and healing crying has been. And I am so glad to be saying this, but everybody should be able to cry and accept their emotions. Everybody, irrespective of gender, men, women, any kind of gender, we should be able to do it, irrespective of what society tells us to do. Because this is where our sensitivity lies. And this is how we are able to process our emotions, get through it, to get to the other side. And the only way out of this mess, of this pain, is through. You can't just shove it away, brush it off, hide it in a little part of your mind. It doesn't work like that. You'll have to experience it completely. And as you said, let it break you. Let it break you is highly scary. Yes, I know. We all know it. All of us who's been through it, we know how scary it is. But then one day you wake up and you tell yourself, okay, I'm through. I'm through. I'm on the other side. I'm no longer grieving. I'm no longer broken. I've been sad. I've been grieving. And now this process is over. I have now given myself the chance to start anew, to start afresh, and to create something else with my life now. No matter what it is that you want to create, this is your chance. And if you do not have the emotional intelligence, if you're, well, not have the emotional intelligence, because I believe that emotional intelligence is something that you cultivate. It's not something that you're born with, it's something that you learn. It's nurture. It's not nature, it's nurture. It's something that all of us can bring in our lives. And that's the beauty of it. because we're all born with emotions, but not all of us have the chance to really understand where those emotions come from, what causes them, and how to deal with them. And I believe that this is the issue with the corporate world, or all right, I'm not going to just point at corporate world, but the economic world that want us to be more productive, and spending time dealing with emotions for a long period of time is not going to be productive for them. So instead of going in the sense that, okay, I repress my emotions, what we can do is learn how to cope with them, how to identify them, and how to release them. For me, this is the most important things that we have to do concerning emotional intelligence. And being someone who has been in customer service for a very, very long time, and I now work as a counselor and a coach, and I meet so many people every day, so many different people every day. What I can say about that is, if I had repressed my emotions, I wouldn't have been able to have that empathy that would allow me to connect with people, and that would allow me to create nurturing and safe spaces for myself and for others.
Mm.
So once you're able to identify and manage your emotions, you'll find that it's very easy for one person to connect with others and not to sit in isolation with your own wounds.
I think I totally agree with everything you've said, and I'm not sure why we've got a sort of stigma attached to actually some emotions, which can be viewed as weakness, like you said, for example, crying, feeling anxious, feeling lost. But I think these are things which are quite natural, I would say. And denying these things don't help things in terms of problem solving, let's say. You won't solve problems if you deny that they exist, isn't it? So it's me, once again, looking at it from a logical perspective now. So if we deny problems, we won't be able to solve them. But if you accept them, they are here, then you can actually work through them and solve. So in terms of decision making for your own life, or in terms of making big decisions in a company, let's say, you actually need to sometimes consider all the factors. So, for example, how do your employees feel about it? That's something important as well. I mean, if you look at big companies who have a big emphasis on employee input, like Google, for instance, or BMW, the opinion, how each employee feel, is actually taken into consideration when BMW designs a car. At Google, you're encouraged to actually be creative, be yourself, as long as your values kind of intersect with the company's value, but you're given that freedom, that trust. I think that's where maybe society has got it wrong, where we're trying to create individuals to fit in a certain framework rather than encourage people to be themselves. And I think that's where parents get it wrong as well, when they try to create individuals out of their own idealism, out of their own ideas, beliefs about what or how an adult should look like in society, what they should be doing, what they should be wearing, and things like that. And that's why we have mid-30s crisis, let's say, because you achieve all those things society or mom or dad wanted you to achieve, and then you feel completely lost because you've achieved them, but there's no happiness. So if we reverse engineer and we look at actually encouraging people to be themselves, I think I'm an anarchist at heart, my theory is that if people are allowed to be themselves completely, it's going to create the best relationships ever, because people would be spending time with other people because they actually like each other. They have the same values, same ideals, and that's why they are together. They're not being together because they have to be together. So I think my way of thinking is that it's one of my values also, being myself. And I think if people are really true to themselves and explore themselves, they develop which job they may end up doing, it's fine. I think it's going to create a more healthy society rather than trying to fit in a certain template, let's say. And maybe when you become more emotionally intelligent about yourself, you start being yourself more, and it kind of leads to happiness. It kind of leads to pure love. One of the things we wanted to discuss, because that's what people want, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be appreciated for who you are. And I think it all starts there, being yourself.
It is. Yeah. I am. I am taken back by how deep it is, and how much I relate to that on a personal level. It's I know that we say that we need to accept and love ourselves, but that's a whole journey in itself, and it's not something that happens overnight. It's not the self-care, self-love thing that we see commercialized on social media. It's a lot of introspection. It's a lot of self-compassion, self-forgiveness, self-discipline, absolutely self-discipline. And this is a process that takes time to be implemented in our lives. But the result of that is that you're then able to be your authentic self, your most authentic self.
Yeah.
You're no longer scared to show who you are. You no longer have the fear of rejection, because you know who you are, and you know that you're showing up in the best way that you can for yourself. And since you're not rejecting yourself, it's very unlikely that people will reject you as well. So in that sense, whatever we are